Real-time crime centers have become a cornerstone of modern policing, helping agencies connect information faster, improve coordination, and make smarter decisions when seconds matter most. But building or refreshing a center can be complex. Constant Technologies helps simplify the process. Constant has partnered with law enforcement agencies across the country to plan, design, and build real-time crime centers, communication centers, drone operation rooms, and emergency operations centers, spaces that are purpose-built to support today's public safety missions. From American-built operator consoles to advanced video wall systems, we focus on the physical environment and technology infrastructure that brings your data and teams together. Our experienced design team works closely with your agency to create layouts and plans that support current operations and future growth. The result is a command environment where video communications and collaboration come together, helping your team move from reactive to proactive policing. Learn more at constanttech.com and schedule a complimentary design consultation. To get started, contact my friend, Lieutenant Sean Arthur, retired from the Collier County Sheriff's Office, at 239-469-4901. Welcome to The Tactical Pause, the official podcast of the Florida Deputy Sheriff's Association. I'm John Creamer, Deputy Executive Director of FDSA. Each episode, I sit down with law enforcement thought leaders to tackle critical issues shaping the future of public safety. Together, we'll explore key topics that empower law enforcement professionals to navigate challenges, lead with confidence, and advance their careers. Take a pause, gain valuable insights, and lead your career with purpose. Thanks for listening. Hey, welcome back to A Tactical Pause. This is your host, John Creamer from the Florida Deputy Sheriff's Association. And today we have a very special guest. We have retired Commander Kimberly Caruso. And Kim, you retired from the Miami Police Department, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule.
Yes.
So, hey, tell our listeners about you.
Okay. So now I'm about to enter into my 25th year in law enforcement. 23 of those were with the City of Miami Police Department. I retired a little over 2 years ago from them.
Congratulations.
That's good. So yeah, it's been a very, long time. It's hard to believe because I think it's funny, like now teaching, especially with the academy, it's like, this doesn't seem like it was so long ago. But it really was that long ago. So yeah, it's been good. But 22 years there. Like everything, we start in patrol. So I did about 6 years in patrol. The love of my life that I found in that time frame was DUI and ultimately was going to be traffic homicide. So during that time period, pretty much any DUI class, any traffic homicide class I specialized in, I became a drug recognition expert back then, and an instructor from way back then as well. And I finally moved to traffic homicide in about 2007. So I was there till I got promoted out in 2010. So of course for us, you get promoted. It's like, welcome back to the street.
Yeah. You're
Days
going back
off,
home for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Back on the bottom of the totem pole. So bad shift, bad days off, So back to patrol as a sergeant, which was awesome. I loved it. It was nice to kind of come back to that. I'm really big about that. I think it's important that we kind of go back to, your roots and kind of, become really savvy in that before you ever move on again. So I was able to move on to homicide about a year and a half in. And I worked in homicide as a supervisor. We had 6 squads. So I was a squad supervisor for 2 years, was asked to go to internal affairs. So I did that for about another 2 years, worked our general investigation side of internal affairs, and then got promoted out to lieutenant, back to the road again.
Yeah.
Except for this time, now I had a 1-year-old daughter, I think at the time. I think my oldest was about 1. So that was a new experience now to go back to the road, as a parent. So I did that for about another year and a half, was asked to go to be an administrative lieutenant for investigations, which was great because I learned kind of the admin side of investigations, which was good. And then finally went to where I longed to go, which was to be the traffic homicide commander. So I did that for 4 years, which that was, the love of my life. And then was tapped to become an actual commander for a neighborhood area, which I did till I retired. So
Okay. Now is North Florida and South Florida are different.
very
There's
different.
yeah, in many ways. But there's in North Florida, there's not really the rank of a commander.
Right.
It's lieutenant, captain, major, and then these days we have there's the invention of chiefs, assistant sheriffs, under sheriffs. What would a commander be? What rank did you wear? Like a captain's bars, oak leaves, or something different?
Right. So I don't know if we were the first agency that ever had it, but we started a long time ago wearing diamonds. So the
Okay.
diamonds were symbolic for commander. We actually switched not long after I got promoted. So we actually started wearing captain's bars, even though we have a captain rank. So we kind of became like in the eyes of like a captain too. I don't know.
Okay.
But we're technically underneath a major. So yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of yeah, and then our rank structure in our agency is officer, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, which has become kind of an obsolete position. Those are the tested ranks, and then commander, which is appointed, major, assistant chief, deputy chief, chief.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's it's a nuance that some of our listeners will never hear
Right.
of, And then again, for a lot of agencies, they're for some reason they're getting rid of the rank of major, and they're now calling them chiefs, division chiefs, district chiefs. It's I don't know why that is, but it's happening.
There was talk at one time we had talked about doing that, and then it never happened. But
Yeah.
there have been talk about that, yeah, because I think that's more in line with like LAPD and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
What made you fall in love with traffic?
You know, it's funny in the academy, I had like no interest in it. It's funny now. Like I like the drawing. I was like, no real interest in it. And then when I started like responding to scenes, not necessarily like your basic like fender benders, but
Yeah.
like your more, traffic homicide worthy type call outs, like I fell in absolute love. I just wanted to know why, what. Like I loved cars before I started. I had done an internship with Miami-Dade Now Sheriff's Department back then, before I became a police officer through the college, through FIU. And I spent about like a week in auto theft, and I absolutely loved that. So it's kind of funny that I kind of like married that passion of those two things. So yeah, that's kind of how I fell into it.
Yeah, that's interesting because in my experience, a lot of people either avoid traffic or they're completely drawn to it. And then you have the whole niche of the DUI, and then the niche of THIs. So,
Yes.
like for me, I'll be candid, and anybody that knew me when I was working, I did not like DUIs. They got very complicated very fast, and then you're going to spend a lot of your time that you should be home asleep in court to have something pled
Yeah.
down. But it's also so important, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And my hat's off to anybody that is a DUI, enforcement officer or deputy. So, but that was not my cup of tea. I loved working motors and traffic is, like speeding and stuff like that. But and I'm with you some THI stuff. But I never went to THI school because I saw all the math,
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, oh no, too much. Even though there's equations, I'm out. So that's good. Okay. So and then eventually, I mean, we can talk about the rest of your career too. But how cool was that you wanted to be in that position? You were there as an operator, as an officer, and then you came back to supervise that later, right?
Yeah, and that was like my ultimate dream. I that was what I really wanted, was just that, was to be able to lead the unit, because I had the knowledge of how to work it, from the roadside as a detective, and now how to kind of better the unit, which is what my goal was, and I think I left the unit better off, which is what we could all hope for when
Yeah.
we take over a unit, is to leave it better. And I think that because of my knowledge of coming into the unit as a detective, which I don't really know of anybody before me who was in charge of that unit at my rank level that had that background. Most of them kind of had the motors background. A lot of times it fell under motors.
Yeah.
So you didn't really have somebody who had the experience or the knowledge. So yeah, I think I was actually probably one of the first ones to do that. So I was able to kind of mold the position, be able to kind of, a lot of the, like our report writing was awful. I was a detective. So I was able to kind of like streamline the report process, so the guys could finish their reports in a more timely manner. because
Yeah.
they're very lengthy, so it was just to help with that.
Okay. Well, for our listeners, how big is Miami PD? And I keep wanting to say Miami Dade because
Right.
we've had Sheriff Rosie on a couple of
Yes.
times, and in my mind drifts back there. But how big is Miami PD? Not Miami Beach
Well,
PD, not the city of
right.
North Miami Beach, but
No.
Miami PD. Yeah.
Yeah, the one and only.
Yeah.
So we take a lot of pride in that.
That's right. Yeah.
So we are the second largest agency. We're the largest city within Miami-Dade County. Obviously, Miami-Dade Sheriff's Department is the sheriff's agency, so they're the largest. But as far as a city, we're the largest city. I believe they're numbering about 1,400 right now. I think when I came on, it might have been maybe a little closer to like 1,200, but it's always been, the largest agency city-wise in Dade County.
Yeah.
And there's about 36 departments in Dade County. So
Yeah, and a great point too. So again, when you get probably north of Ocala, for our listeners, a lot of counties in North Florida have one city. They might have
right.
two cities. There's some anomalies, but yeah, Miami-Dade County in and of itself is unique.
Yes.
So
Very
yeah,
unique.
so you're the largest municipal police department in the
Yes.
county. Okay, and then like demographically, what would it have looked like when you were there? Like males, females, Hispanic, white.
As far as like the agency breakdown,
Yeah,
yeah.
just take a
So,
swag at it. Yeah,
oh, that's a good question. Probably you had primarily Hispanic and Black, um, which it mirrors basically Miami-Dade County, I
yeah,
think,
hmm
more. Um, as far as like white non-Hispanic, not that many, but again, Miami-Dade County in and of itself doesn't really have probably as much. Just changes over the years.
yeah,
Dynamics, especially, I point that towards like Hurricane Andrew kind of changed a lot of the dynamics of South Florida. But yeah, and as far as females, we're still trying to get to that 30 by 30. They are enrolled in that initiative, which I think is a great initiative. But they're not quite there. As far as like patrol level side or officer level side, I think we're definitely in the low 20s, I would say, percentile for women to men. But as far as, command staff level, it's not where it needs to be. And that's a lot of agencies, unfortunately,
yeah.
need to have an increase. But yeah,
So what was that like? And so I have a daughter. My oldest child is of course is my girl, and she's a pistol. And then as a child, I wanted her to be raised. You can do anything. It doesn't matter what your gender is. You can do anything you want if you put your effort into it. So I have a different viewpoint than maybe some of our listeners. But what was it like to be in that? Because I can't really relate, of course, because I'm not. I am the gender I am, and I don't know what it's like. So what was it like to be in probably one of the largest police departments in Florida, and to be a woman? And what was that like?
it's I mean, I guess I don't really. I guess when you're in it, you don't really think about it,
Yeah.
because you're there. Like I've been there a long time, so I don't really think about it. But yes, in retrospect, yes, it is a big deal to be in that position. I never really had issues per se because I've been there so long. You know what I mean? So working with so many people, they know your work ethic, they know how you are. It's not like I came from the outside. You know what I mean? Like when you kind of are born and raised into a department, it's a little bit different, and you go through the rank structure.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, I like I said, I just really never had issues per se with that. I mean, like with everything, and I think, and it's something we've talked about. There's police subculture, right? So I'm sure there's people who did not care for me being in the position that I was in, but did I earn the position? 100,000%. I earned the position,
Yeah.
and I worked every day in the position. So, like everything, there's always going to be naysayers. There's going to be people that are just going to talk smack because that's what they do because they're
Yeah.
bitter, right?
Yeah.
but but it does have its own complications though. And I'm the same. I have two young daughters. Mine are about to be 8 and 12. So I was very anti-police. I did not want either of them to become. But I have found that because the job has just changed so much, not because of my own personal feelings about it. It's
Yeah.
just, it's changed a lot, so we always think about safety, and I'm sure, in the back of all of our minds, you think about that, right?
Yeah.
But I've learned to just say, I've always been, whatever you want, the sky's the limit. You apply yourself, you get out there, you do what you need to do. So yeah, I'm very firm in believing that I think there's a lot in that. Hmm.
So I went to the academy in 1992, which does seem like yesterday, but even though it was
It
a
does.
long, long time ago. But so I started with the Tallahassee Police Department, and TPD was super progressive, and they still are, but at the time they were super progressive. And I think they were 30 for 30 for our listeners. What that I'm assuming that means is you're trying to get 30% of the agency to be
Yes.
female, women, or diversity by the year 2030.
Yes.
So TPD was doing stuff like that in the 90s. I don't think we just had a cool name for that, but there was a lot of diversity. And I, as a male, I was more worried about surviving my rookie year than was I getting a favor or not getting a favor because of my name or what I look like. I was just trying to get through my probationary year. But
Right.
later in my career, I started looking around and I started seeing that even though we were progressive, there's still different opportunities for different people. And then I think that some of those things have been knocked down. I'm not talking about TPD anymore, but in the other agencies I worked at, I feel like things have gotten better
Yeah.
for everybody that comes on board. I feel like now the position from most command staffs are, we're so grateful to have you. Thanks for working here. And where do you want to go? What can we do to keep you happy so you'll stay?
Right.
So I think some of those challenges have been knocked down by people that came before us, male and female,
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
So what challenges do you see facing like the young recruits these days? So now you retired, you work, what academy are you at or what college are you at?
Yeah, so I teach at two academies or two colleges that they house academies, which is Broward College. They're the only one for Broward County. And then at Miami-Dade College, which there's several academies in Miami-Dade County, but that's one of the academies there,
Yeah.
which is actually where I attended 25 years ago. So, yeah. But no, that's a great question. It's funny. We talk about it a lot. Like the other instructors that I teach with, it's kind of like I'm not really sure if it's what's hiring, what's the hiring pool. Maybe it's a bait and switch. I don't know. Like, I always think they get the bait and switch. They think it's going to be what it's like, not, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, you got sold a bill of goods. That's not
Yeah.
true. But we see a lot of them, they'll come through the academy and you try to talk to them, and just be like, hey, this is reality. I know what's in the book, but this is reality. And they're not making it into FTO, or they're quitting. And it's just like, okay, so what did you think this was going to be? So I'm not really sure. I think it's kind of scary right now to see that. And it's concerning because it's like, man, you're trying to tell them and educate them. And I'm a big proponent of they should not leave with rose-colored glasses on. That's not okay.
Yeah.
They need to know reality, how to manage. And really my thing is how to survive FTO, how to survive getting off probation, how to survive the rest of your career, so you can retire, collect a pension, and do whatever it is that you want. Like I always joke with them when I get them, like the first couple of weeks, I'm like, you want to go retire and live on a hammock and buy your own island? Like I'm all about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but we have to get there. Like that's not a given, and you're going to work. You're going to earn that. It's not given to you.
Let me ask you this. So down there, is there an opportunity for recruits or people that want to go to law enforcement to do ride-alongs? Or is that not a thing much anymore?
You know what? That's a good question, because I think because of COVID stopped a lot of the ride-along stuff.
Yeah.
I know our agency, and I still say it ours because it's still, my home, but I know they were allowing them back, but with the strict regimen, you got to either be a student, live in the city, things like that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I did it 100 years ago. It was in my college class. My instructor gave us like extra credit to do a ride along, so I did it with my immediate sheriff's department because that's where I grew up. And I instantly fell in love with it. So yeah, it is a really great way to bring people in, to actually see what the job entails. And then I fell in love with it, and we literally did nothing that day. And it was like the most amazing
Yeah.
when I look back on it. But I knew instantly that was what I wanted, so.
Yeah, well, I think so. You're touching on it. This is how almost every podcast goes. Is there's so many rabbit holes we could go down, but one is this. Yeah, I also did a lot of ride-alongs. I was a police explorer for a little bit, and I knew this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I knew it, but I was also surprised too that when you get into the academy, with somebody and they're like, "Hey, this is bullshit. I'm not doing that." You're like, "Why are you even here? We have to do that. What did you come here for?"
Right.
They did it anyway, and then they went on and got hired by somebody, and then they hung around 2 or 3 years, and we all knew they weren't going to stay, but they did it anyway. But I think a ride along, for our listeners or somebody that's interested in law enforcement or even first responders or even communications. I mean, communication centers now have like a sit along. You can come sit with
Yeah.
a telecommunicator and see what it's really like, and that'll tell you right there whether it's worth investing in an academy.
Agreed.
But yeah, I think there's the Hollywood effect that plays into it, and there's a
Yeah.
perceived cool effect. It's all
Right.
cool till you get out there and you not to sound harsh, but till you find a stinker that's been in a
Yeah.
dumpster, and then it's not cool anymore, and you're going to be standing there next to that
And we
body
actually
until,
had a
yeah,
kid quit for that very reason, like in the last 2 months, because he was on that call too long. And I'm like, what?
yeah,
It's just,
yeah. That's just one day, man. It'll get
yeah,
better.
like tomorrow's, and that's why I always tell everybody the beauty of police work is every day is unexpected. You don't know what it's going to be. But that's also the danger of police work is every day we just have no idea how the day is going to go. But that's what is the beauty of it. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah,
But if that's not what you're willing to accept, you're not willing to accept the bad days for the good day. You know what I mean? Like, then this is not the job for you.
yeah, and there's that old quote about policing is 99% boredom and
Yeah,
1% sheer terror, and when it's
100%.
terrible or terrifying, it is, man. You're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
all right, that's why I got here.
That's,
So, so you see this difference in the kids, or not kids, but the adults that are coming on that want to be in policing. There's a different mind shift. I think we just haven't figured out how to harness it yet. They're
I think a
different.
lot of it's that.
Yeah, yeah,
I think a lot of it's that. I mean, it's good. I don't know. Like I said, like I'm hoping they're like more community oriented, but they lack basic communication skills, right?
yeah,
So it's like, how do there are some really great people I've seen that have been hired over the last couple of years that are just phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like they're awesome for community relations. Like, oh my God, like that's who you want, But then today's kids, they don't know how to talk. And again, it has a lot to do with the COVID effect. They only know how to text. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they don't know how to hold conversations. So that's kind of like my biggest thing with them when they first start too is, hey, you need to. These are skills you can develop, right?
yeah,
You can develop these skills. I'm like even just something so simple as saying hello to people. Everywhere you go and making eye contact and those types of things are just common courtesy, right? To us, our generation and
yeah,
older. But they do make a difference when you're in uniform.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the problems that they have. Some of the good things they do is that they're just tremendous problem solvers, and they're so innovative. And I
Yes.
think they're going to have a whole new lens. But you're right. There's a basic element that AI is never going to replace, and that's human
Right.
interaction. There's always going to
Yes.
be human interaction, and we need to get past that. What do I say to that guy, or what do I say to her? So,
Oh, yeah.
well,
They have
jumping,
no idea what to say.
yeah,
They really don't. And I'm like, okay, well, this is, like even the other day, it was like just like a landlord tenant dispute. We have to reenact with them and they got to act it out.
hmm,
And they don't know how to handle depending on where they're at because if they've never rented a place or you know what I mean, like they don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
the older ones in the class, they know, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, okay, well, we need to refer them to resources, and these are the things legally, that we can do. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you're going to get a lot of that in FTO because you're going to go to a lot of calls for service. So you're going to start to learn what resources are available, but you kind of need like a basic working knowledge, and that's definitely lacking.
Yeah.
They just don't have life experience, and
Well, shoot 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when these people are they have the opportunity to be in a leadership role.
yeah.
If they haven't developed that, think about you, and I think about me as a sergeant. You interact with so many people. You have a squad of people you interact with. You're interacting with command staff, the watch commander, maybe the other watch commander in the other district, and then you're running a roll call, and so you have to be able to communicate. Not only that, but you have to take complaints. Somebody
Yeah.
comes in, you have to know how to diffuse something, and then so that's something that you or other people, other trainers are going to have to face with these young people coming up too. Is listen, when you start getting promoted, you have to speak more, and you have to learn how to listen. Especially when you become a lieutenant, captain, commander, because now you're over a district, and most of your job is dealing with people, and a lot of your job is just speaking and knowing how to read a room. So,
Oh, that's a big one right there. The read the room. You're like, oh, a lot of
yeah,
them just do not know. Or
yeah,
I'm like, wow, you really need to learn just the basic stuff, like, yeah, or how to talk to people. I'm like, you guys are going to have to talk to citizens. Yeah, you can't tell them you don't care or act like you don't care. No, you need to listen. We're here to solve whatever the problem is, even if you think it's not a police matter. I've had classes in the past, and it's been a while, but I had one class was like, well, why? That's a waste of taxpayer money. And I'm like, why are you here?
yeah,
Policing is you're a jack of all trades. Like you
yeah,
solve every problem. They call us for everything. So you can't say that, so you're going to have to learn how to give people directions. I can't tell you how many times I would get flagged out. I'm like, I'd be like, okay, I don't know. Can you give me the address and let me try to find it for you, or at least help you. But I'm
yeah.
not going to say, no, you figure it out. Like that's not appropriate. Right.
No, 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 no. You can't do that. And then, yeah, and we used to say this too. Crisis is self-defined. So
Right.
what to me is a
Yes.
police matter may not be the same thing to you as a police matter. But as a
100%.
patrol deputy or a patrol officer, my job is not to ask why. My job, hey, you got a problem? I'm your
Let me
guy.
fix it.
What's up?
Exactly.
You
How
know?
can I fix it? And if I
Yeah,
can't fix it, well, I'm going to try to point you in the right direction to fix it.
yeah,
But, and that's how I am. I'm to this day. I laugh about it. I'm like, I'm a problem solver. I'm a fixer. Like, I
yeah,
don't, you come to me with a problem. let's go. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
And see, that's hard to stop doing that in your personal life,
no,
right? With a
yeah, I
partner,
can't.
with a spouse, with
No,
somebody else, it's hard to be like, well, hey, let me tell you right quick. You got option A, B, and C. I would do this. Let's go. Problem solved. Because a lot of people just want to be heard. They already know the solution, but they just want to talk it out, and it's really hard not to be on duty when you're off duty. And we'll be right back. Every day you put your life on the line to protect and serve. Who's protecting you? United Badges Insurance Services operates as a dedicated resource for the first responder public safety community. Serving thousands of first responders, United Badges offers a wide range of products including commercial insurance, group accident and health insurance, and personal insurance such as auto, home, renters, rental properties, vacation properties, boat, motorcycle, RVs, flood, and umbrella. United Badges serves active and retired public safety personnel, public safety agencies, public safety associations, public safety support businesses, and public safety families and friends. Experience the United Badges difference. Call 800-566-5990 or visit unitedbadges.com to request your free insurance quote today. United Badges Insurance Services is a proud strategic partner of the Florida Deputy Sheriff's Association. Applicants are individually underwritten by each respective insurance carrier and subject to insurance policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states. Promotional material for descriptive purposes only. Now back to the show. We kind of talked about your challenges that you have now with some of the people issues and training. What do you think? Think back, like what were some of the hardest challenges you had when you became in that middle management role of lieutenant and then up into the upper management of a commander? What were some of the biggest challenges you faced? Because they're not the same as I'm getting shot at
yeah,
or there's a riot over here or a drowning.
right.
There's a whole different cast of problems that are super stressful when you get in that administrative role that most people don't realize. I mean, how about for you? What were some of your challenges that made you
Ooh,
like grow?
that's a great question. Like, there's personal and then there's professional, right?
Yeah.
So on the professional side, I mean, I think probably the hardest is finding that balance between, and I talk about it a lot when I coach people for like assessment center stuff,
Yeah.
but is being finding the good balance between being the leader and being a manager, right? We have to have a good balance of both. You can't be one extreme or the other because that doesn't work, right? You have to walk the fine line between them. And some days you're more manager and some days you're more leader. So I think once I went into like the lieutenant rank, that was where I had to learn to balance that really well because here you're friends with people that you've worked with for 1,000 years and now they work for you,
Yeah.
right? So that's a challenge in and of itself,
Yeah.
right?
It's really, it's weird for them and it's weird for you, right?
Right. So there's
Yeah.
always that initial awkwardness, but then we get past it because as long as everybody's respectful, usually there's not an issue. You know what I mean? I think I've had to call out one of my friends who was a sergeant because he said something stupid on the radio. And I remember I snapped and I was like, go to the tactical channel. And when we say go to the tactical channel, everybody else went to the tactical
Oh,
channel
yeah.
with them, to hear this. So I was like, yeah, come to the office right now. And he knew as soon as he got there, he apologized profusely, was like, I am so sorry. I was having a moment. Like, that is my fault. No problem. It's taken care of. Okay, problem solved. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to chew you out, but I'm not going to let you disrespect me
Yeah.
either. So that's important, is making sure to set that tone, that command presence. And that comes with time, with, just really pushing through with that. But I think that was probably at most, and like everything, it's that transition because you want to go to bat for your guys, right? But you also got to deal. You're in that in between. Middle management is like the worst place. It's great, but it's also like one of the worst places.
Yeah. You're responsible for everything,
Yeah.
but you're really in charge of nothing unless it goes
Yeah.
south and then you own it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I love being a lieutenant of police, was one of my favorite ranks, without a doubt. Especially as a patrol lieutenant. Oh my God, I loved it because I had probably at a time I would have at least 30 plus officers working for me, maybe 5 sergeants, 5, 6 sergeants. And it was great. I loved that. But yeah, exactly. Like, so if something was bad, like I would go to bat for the guys, but then I'm getting it, so
Yeah.
now I got to deal with it. So it's a delicate balance, but like on the personal side, it gets more complicated. The higher up you go, the lonelier it becomes. That's something I talked about with people, throughout the ranks and over the years of people that I've been friends with, is that it just becomes very lonely. And it becomes difficult. You have a difficult time keeping a work-life balance. I mean, I don't think anybody's actually caught the secret to that. Like, there's just
No. And
it's
hey,
tough.
yeah.
It's
So
tough.
let's just stay there for just a second.
Yeah.
So, I talk about Colin Powell a lot, and one of his principles was command is lonely, right? And the higher you go, it's lonely, and it
Yeah.
ain't easy. You
No.
don't know all the answers. You don't. You have to act like you do, but you don't. And you can no longer vent up or down, and there's not a lot of people you can vent to laterally either. So
Right.
it gets lonely. And then, let alone when you're in internal affairs. I also did a couple
Oh
tours
God.
internal affairs. I mean, it's you, and maybe
Yeah.
your partner, or maybe somebody else on the
Right.
squad, and that's it.
Yeah.
And everybody, they cringe when hey, what are you doing at this party? I'm like, yeah, I got invited. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, it is very isolating. And then the balance. Hey, look, I'll be the first to tell you, my personal life was often pretty messy because I never found the balance. To this day, I'm was addicted to work, and that comes from. I can look back now and I can see where that came from. Some things from my childhood, and I some things where I wanted to get justice, or I felt it met some needs that nothing else could meet. But I never found balance
Yeah.
between home and work. I just never did, and that's on me. But if I had to do it over again, I would strive to find that balance, but like you said, I just don't know where that sweet spot is.
Yeah.
So, and hey, maybe that's what these kids in the academy are struggling with already.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's something they're looking at. I don't know. But so you struggle with those things as well, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh my God. Like I think I found for like a minute, like think I found kind of the sweet spot for a little bit, and then it was gone. You know what I mean? And then it's like I just couldn't regain it. It's like I tell people all the time, I feel like at least back then, I felt like I was walking on a tightrope. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I'm walking on this tightrope, just like praying that I don't fall because it's like, it's terrible. There's no net underneath me. I'm just hoping for the best. You know what I mean? And it's rough. I tell people all the time, especially when we talk about like, and I talk heavily with my cadets about police suicide. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I think it's foolish if we don't talk about it because it's a huge elephant in the room. We should be talking about it, right?
Yeah.
But and I talk about it with new supervisors is when we're going through stress, if my home life is okay, but my work life sucks, I'm okay. I can manage, right? And vice versa. If my home life sucks, but my work life is okay, I can make it work, which I think is something that we all can relate to, right? Because I'm a
Yeah.
workaholic too. And, when things are not great at the house, you know what? You just go to work. you know,
Yeah.
go to
Get away
work.
from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people's escape, right?
Yeah.
But when they both suck, that's where the spiral begins a lot of the times is they don't know what to do because now you don't have a refuge, right? So I found for me it was tough. That was a lot of probably why I made the decisions. I was ready to retire. I was like, you know what, this is just not working for me anymore. It's not good for my home life, my kids, and our kids should be the most important thing. Like I remember one of the guys when I before I got pregnant with my daughter had told me, or actually right when I got pregnant with my daughter, he was a senior sergeant and he had been in the department forever. He's still working for FDLE. And he's like, there's one thing I regret is that I was not there for my kids like I should have been.
Yeah.
Don't be like me. And I made sure, and to this always be at events, be at things, always be present. I may not always be around, but I'm present. You know what I mean? And I found myself not being present when I was home. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So
So here's
that's tough.
the thing about that too, Kim, is again, a couple things. Law enforcement and first responder suicide, it is an epidemic. It is. And it's just not mainstream. There's not mainstream information about it.
Right.
And I've said this probably on like every other podcast, but FDLE has a wonderful arm, and they're working on police suicides in Florida. They just released their first study, and it talks about some of the significant impacts. And there's almost a bell curve. There's a lot of suicides in people that have been on the job less than 5 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of suicides for people that have recently retired or who are retired.
Right.
And there's different factors, but I'm just saying FDLE is doing some work. The work they've done so far is fascinating, and
Great.
I'm really glad that you brought this up because we have to get away from the stigma. And where I am locally right now, there's been 4 first responder suicides since November. And the date of our recording today is March 26, 2026. So since November 20th, 2025, there's been 4 first responder suicides here. So 2 weeks ago, all of the law enforcement chiefs, the fire chief, the EMS chief, and some other important stakeholders met, and we had like a listening session. And we're trying to determine what, if any, was there a red thread, and then what are we doing as as agencies to make sure we have all the pieces in place. But that's an anomaly because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's too bad." They just keep on trucking because the calls keep coming in.
Right.
And then the other thing you talked about too is presence. So let's camp out on presence. So for me, presence wasn't a big deal until I started getting promoted, and when I really got into that administrative role. I might be there at home, but I was not at home. This was always in my hand.
Oh, yes.
And this amongst other things, probably I owe my ex-wife an apology because I was not present. I just wasn't present. I was always had my head on a swivel for the boss to make sure he was going to be okay, and then I would, the phone was constantly going off, especially when you
Yeah.
have to carry two phones, and then you're constantly worried about this, worried about that, and you can't be present. And it was just that's what people don't realize when you start getting promoted. You think you're going to be part of the solution, and then for me, I can't speak for you, but ultimately, I realized I became part of the problem. But
Right.
I didn't want to be, but I did. But so you struggled with presence as well, right?
Oh, 100%. And again, it was at that level, not so much at the lieutenant level. Definitely not. As a patrol lieutenant, you don't care. You turn it
Yeah.
off when you go home every day.
Yeah, you like do
But
your 8 and hit the gate. Peace out, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
bye. I didn't like, actually, it's funny. So when I went back from as an investigator and getting promoted to sergeant, I didn't understand like leaving work on time. Like I was like, what? Like I can leave at this time and I can turn my phone off on my 3 days off? Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So I didn't understand what that meant going back to it, right? So now then like you go back to doing it and now you're working as a unit commander of investigations. Your phone is always on, you know what I mean? Doesn't mean I'm necessarily responding, but I have to answer the phone. So but once I became an actual neighborhood commander, completely different game. I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm already emails. Because if you don't start looking at your emails and taking care of emails, by the time I make it to work, it's going to be 200 plus emails in there. You know what I mean? So then, and a bunch of other fires you got to put out. I always laugh we should get firefighter hazard pay.
Yeah.
And then I'd be exactly with this thing till 11 o'clock at minimum at night, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night before I went to bed. So from 6 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night, I'm stuck. Emails, text messages, Teams, Microsoft Teams is what we would use. Constant. So my kids are right there in front of me and I'm not even really paying attention to them. Like, mommy, can we watch a TV show together? And yeah, I'm sitting on the couch watching it with you, but I'm not present. And like I said, in the beginning, you don't maybe recognize it until you start realizing, oh, hold on a second, this is a problem. So I definitely found, especially when I retired, that was kind of like a big like, oh, I recognized I was doing it, but until you step away completely, then you start to realize, man, I have not been present all this time. I'm physically here, but I'm not present. And that's not okay. That's not fair to our families, to our kids. Not at all.
No.
And people can tell you, oh, family first, family first, family first. I can't tell you how many times I hear that. And it's nauseating, to be honest, because it's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true. And I'm like, okay. And I would tell my guys that all the time. If you need something, you come to me and I'm going to take care of it because I believe in that. I'm going to make it work. But I know that wasn't real for me. You know what I mean? Like, I know that wasn't real for me. So, yeah.
Well, statistically, the last person I see before I leave this earth isn't going to be somebody I work with.
Absolutely not.
But I am
Hopefully
sacrificing. Not. Yeah, no, right. I'm sacrificing all the time with other people for work, and I bought into it. I'm like, well, this is how it works. You're supposed to do this, and then when you leave, you're a name on the wall, you're a picture on the wall, and then a couple of years later, they're like, who was that guy? And then you come back for a Christmas party, they're like, I don't even know who you are, man. And you're like, I gave you my youth, I gave you my blood, my mental health. I left it all here on the field.
Yes.
And it's just the way it goes. It wasn't worth it for me.
Right.
Some of it wasn't worth it. So,
right. So that's what helped me make that decision when it was time.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know what, this is not fair to my family. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to them.
Yeah. So we talked about some of the challenges you have in the role that you're in now. The challenges we talked about some of the dark days you had as an administrator, as a middle manager, and the themes that have already popped up are isolation, lack of being present. You got to have your head on a swivel all the time. And then for me, there's also times of regret when I'm like, shit, I need to be doing a better job at home, but I can't because I'm here. How about some of your better days? What were some of the good impacts you had when you got to that level? And before you answer that, what I found in my career was the person that had the most influence over me was usually a sergeant or a captain, and at times the chief or the sheriff. As the sergeant goes, the squad goes. And then a captain, or for your case, a commander, usually runs a district. And that person's attitude is usually reflected in the people that work for him or her.
Yeah.
So how about you?
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Like once you become a sergeant, your goal, you're not responsible for you anymore. You're responsible for 4 to 6 officers, whatever it is. And that became my thing where I was like, okay, well, it's not about me anymore. It's about them. So it's part of that servant leadership, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay. What can I make you better? You know what I mean? Like, how can I make you better? And then kind of going through my career, I've always been that way, which was, okay, pass information on, always be open, be available, help people. So I am thankful that I have been able to help a lot of people, whether, I was thanked for it or not. It's not about that, right? Like, police work is a completely thankless job. And what we do for people, you can never expect, a thank you. But, I sat actually for our chief for, about from 2015, I think it was, till I retired. I sat for the chief for an organization called the Police Officers Assistance Trust, which is a Dade County program that's in place. And it's solely run by officers, for officers, funded by officers and donations. And it's only for the officers of that county. So, God forbid there's a line of duty death, they help with that. Or, if an officer's family member passes away or whatever, or an officer gets injured and now their bills are mounting, you know what I mean? Like, and we all know if somebody goes out on disability, you're not getting your full paycheck. So it makes a big difference. Or if somebody's child needs therapies that the insurance doesn't pay for, stuff like that. So I did that, which was probably one of the true loves of my life, because I'm helping people, like our people, we're out there helping the community, which I love, but being able to help our own people is the most important thing to me. So I feel like I was able to accomplish that over the years, and always be available, and be an ear and just be there. So now, at least as far as in the academy side, I always make my presence known to them. Whatever you need, you come, you talk to me, you call me, I don't care. You can talk to me about anything. There's no judgment. I'm just here to support you and guide you. That should be, leaving a legacy, not taking and hoarding knowledge, because there's a lot of people who do that. They're like, oh, I got to be the subject matter expert. Nobody can take my job. And I'm like, no, you should be training the next person to take your job, not because we're not going to be here forever. Right. So
see, that's the whole theory of leadership. There is train your replacement, and then there's the anti-theory, which is I'm going to make myself so unique I can't get moved,
100%.
which is also a fallacy, because everybody's going to get moved at some point. You just take your skill set and you can move on down the road a little bit because somebody else deserves a chance.
Right. 100%. So I've always been really big about that. Is passing that knowledge. Inspiring people behind me to come and take my place, at the end of the day, because I want them out there doing what I was doing and being passionate about it and stuff like that. And especially with like DUI and stuff like that. Again, there's so many people who have zero interest in it. But it's really getting those who are interested and really pushing them that generation so that they can be out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, sounds like mentoring is important to you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you probably get to do a lot of that at the academy, because hopefully, I'm sure looking back, there's probably going to be a percentage of those folks that don't get into law enforcement. If they do, they don't stay long. There's also going to be a percentage that stays to retirement. And I can tell you by name, almost every instructor I had a long time ago, especially the ones that made an impact.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones that were really shitty.
Oh, yeah.
So you're making an impact, and that's important, because, for me, I want to be like an icon on somebody's phone. If hey, John might know the answer to that. He might be able to point me in the right direction. Let me reach out to him. And if I can help, I can help. And that's the beauty of where I'm at now. But you're doing that 40 hours a week. That's wonderful.
Well, not 40 hours.
Well, you're doing that. You're staying busy doing that. Yeah. So,
a couple hours a week.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So what challenges do you see ahead for law enforcement in general?
Oof.
Like from where your stance as somebody who's, number one, that you're retired, number two, the rank you retired at, and number three, you're right there at the opening of the funnel when people enter law enforcement. So what challenges do you see?
I think it's probably across the board, and from kind of like talking to people from across the U.S. and like training and stuff like that. And so sometimes I think some things are South Florida problems, they're not, they're nationwide problems. Definitely recruitment is still a problem nationwide.
Yeah.
Retention, that's our bigger problem. So yeah, you might have finally got somebody. now you got to retain them, and the lack of loyalty, right? So
Yeah.
when you and I came on, even though I know you moved agencies, like but it was for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
And good reasons. Like oh, like no, you don't leave. that department is your department. So like for me to hear people like they quit, they go through an academy and then they quit, and now they're trying to get hired at another department, or they're getting poached within the academy to go to other agencies because they're looking at the dollar sign. They're not really looking at anything else. And I'm like, okay, so that's a huge problem. Again, that lack of communication, not having the life experience, maybe not having the empathy that is necessary to be there. You know what I mean? Like I've seen that too, where I'm like horrified by some of the reactions I've seen with some of the recruits, where I'm like, Jesus, that's not good. Like that should have been caught in a psychological test. Like
Yeah.
that's concerning, because that person, again, they represent the agency, you know? So that is a huge concern. I do see that as something, even though crime is down and stuff, and that's great. I'm so happy that we're at a different place,
Yeah, but
in our times, right?
yeah, but
But
here's what's missing in that. Sorry to cut you off, Kim. Here's what's
no,
missing. Okay, crime's down.
well, violent crime's down.
All right, violent crime's down,
Let's
and
be specific.
a lot of people, hey, violent crime's down. That doesn't mean diddly, because
Right,
quality of life is what people call us about quality of life. You know,
100%.
there's this whole thing called the dark figure of crime, where somebody gets victimized and they're like, I'm not going to call the police. Nobody's going to do anything about it. But I'm going to
Right.
call about this quality of life issue because it's
Yes.
affecting me right now today. And that's hard to measure.
Yes.
And that's where this recruiting, this retention, and this resiliency issue, it becomes highlighted, is in these quality of life issues that we
Yes.
can't measure, you know?
No. Yeah.
So
100%. I mean, the amount of homeless, and that's a nationwide problem, right?
yeah.
That's a huge problem. What do we, where in law enforcement do we fall into that? Mental health and crisis. How, I tell people all the time, I go, your calls for service every day, domestic violence, 100%, traffic crash, crisis call, and some kind of civil dispute.
Yeah.
I go, those are your four bread and butter everyday calls for service that you're definitely going to at least one of those,
Yeah.
one minimum a day of those, four calls, because that's reality, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic of how do we fix these problems? Where do we get, where do we go? I mean, do we go too much community policing? Have we gone too far into community policing? Have we gone too far away from being tactical? Like, where do we find that sweet spot again?
Okay,
Like we
great
talked
point, Kim, because we went from like this in the 90s, when Bill Clinton was the president. He
about.
At the time, he probably did more for law enforcement than most people would ever give him credit. He started all the cops grants. He kind of reinvigorated this whole Sir Robert Peel thing about the people are
Yes.
the police are the people, and poured money into law enforcement. And then we went into the first Gulf War, and the stuff with Iraq and Afghanistan. And then we switched to this warrior mentality. And then somehow we got wrapped up in the phrase the police have been militarized, and now we find ourselves shifting back towards being guardians and de-escalation.
Right.
De-escalation, we did that in the 90s. Now it's just got a really cool title. It's called de-escalation, and somebody somewhere is making a lot of money
Oh yeah,
talking
we
about.
called it verbal judo when I
Yeah,
came
that's
on.
exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's
And hey,
exactly that's what we called it.
hence the
So,
name of the podcast, A Tactical Pause. Which we
right.
want you to slow down.
Yeah.
You still got a cowboy up, but slow down and use your head. Just take a second. Okay, we're good. Let's get back in it. So yeah,
Exactly.
we're right back in there, and you're right. Where's the sweet spot? So and look, this hour has gone by. I mean, we're almost at an hour. Look how it went by so fast.
Did.
And I'm thankful that you came on. What would you leave? What would your last message be to our listeners?
I think the biggest thing is, no matter what, if this is the career that you're wanting to go into, no matter what might hold you up or hold you back, or, complications that come up, because sometimes you see that. You see kids that they're struggling to get hired. Listen, if this is your dream, commit to it and keep working through it. Sometimes timing is a lot of things. That's one thing I've definitely learned over the years. Sometimes it's not the right time for us, or there's a reason or a purpose, a higher reason, that maybe things are the stars didn't align for us quite yet for something, right? But that's it. It's just is maintaining that goal, keeping your eye on the prize and doing whatever. And that's applicable with everything in this life.
Thank you for listening to The Tactical Pause, the official podcast of the Florida Deputy Sheriff's Association. FDSA proudly serves over 25,000 deputy sheriffs across the state with legal benefits, vital training, and financial assistance in times of need. You can listen to previous episodes at fldeputysheriffs.org or wherever you get your podcasts. If you've enjoyed the show, please leave us a review and encourage your friends, coworkers, and those in the law enforcement community to listen as well. To learn more about the Florida Deputy Sheriff's Association and how we serve those who serve, visit our website at fldeputysheriffs.org.